The purpose of this video is to show you how to take a set of data and find a mathematical model for that data. So the first thing we have to do is we have to put our data in a table. So there's a couple things to notice about the table. The first column is conventionally, the data that goes on the x-axis. This is the independent variable, what you as the experimenter controlled. The second column is what's going to go on the y-axis, the dependent variable. It's what you measured or collected. So in this case, the height of the stick is the independent variable, and we want to know how does the length of the shadow depend on the height of the stick. Now, in the top of the table, in the header, you need to have the quantity. So this is the height of the stick, and in parentheses, we're going to put the units we're going to measure that in. So in this case, the height of the stick is measured in inches. Please note that the data itself does not have a unit of measure. That goes in the header of the table. Otherwise, you won't be able to plot it. So I have headers for two rows. The first row is the X, the second row is the Y, and I have my data. I'm going to start by highlighting my data. I'm going to go to the Insert menu, and I'm going to go to Chart. So it'll give you a preview of the chart, and over on the right-hand side, there is a dialog box that allows you to edit it. So the first thing I want to do is make sure it's a scatter plot. So right here under Setup, choose the chart type, and if it's not already a scatter plot, choose scatter plot. You may have to scroll down to find it. The second thing I want to do is make sure it has the correct variable on the x-axis. So here on the x-axis, it is plotting the height of the stick. That is correct. The series is what we call the y-axis in Google Sheets speak, and the length of the shadow is on that axis, so that looks good. So now I'm going to go to the Customize option over here, and there's a couple of changes I'm going to make. First of all, I'm going to click on Series. We want the computer to calculate the line of best fit. This looks like a straight line, but I want to find its line of best fit. So right here under the Series tab, you can open that. You can change the color if you want. You're welcome to use other colors, but they must be dark colors, not light colors. And you must not use red or pink, because I'm going to grade in red or pink, and you won't be able to see my marks if you do that. So if you want blue or purple or something, you're welcome to play with that. I'm going to scroll down some more to where it says trend line. So trend line is what Sheets calls the line of best fit. When I check the box, it will draw the best fit line through the data. The type of trend line we're going to use is always linear. We're not going to use any other type this year, so we're always going to choose linear. I'm going to scroll down a little bit more to where it says label, and I'm going to say use equation. And then it's a little small, but right here is the equation of the line. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger, so I'll show you how to do this later. There's the equation of the line. That's under legend. So anyway, here we are on the equation of the line. And basically, it's telling us that y, the length of the shadow, is equal to 1.39 times x plus a little itty bit. And this little itty bit is not going to matter. We're going to call it close to 0. But what we want to do is visualize where the 0, 0, the origin is. And we cannot see it on this graph. You see how there's no y-axis here? We need a y-axis there. So I'm going to go down here to horizontal axis. And I'm going to make the minimum on the horizontal axis 0. So my horizontal graph goes all the way to 0 here. You see that? It looks like y has also gone to 0 now, so I think I'm good. All right, now I'm going to go back to my series here, scroll down, and I'm going to, instead of using the equation, I'm going to make my own equation. So remember, y equals 1.39 times x plus 0.05. 0.05 is the y-intercept. But when we look at the graph right here, it looks like the y-intercept is 0. So I'm going to treat this as 0, and I'm just going to say y equals 1.39 times x. So my equation is actually going to look like this. Y equals 1.39 times x. But I can't use y and x. Those are variables that have no meaning in this context. On the y-axis, we have the length of the shadow. So how about we use L? And on the x-axis, we have the height of the stick. So how about we use H? So a better math model for this would be that y, the length of the shadow, equals 1.39 times the height of the stick. So that's our math model for the data set we found. So we are almost done. We're just going to do a couple more things. One is we're going to go back to Legend, and if you didn't make it bigger yet, this is where you can make the math model a little bit bigger. I am going to click on Position and put it on the inside, so it's inside the chart there. And if you want, you can edit this label here. This is really your data. So it puts in it automatically, whatever it gets on the title. I'm just going to put data. So now you can see that the dots are the data, and the line is the equation L equals 1.39 times H. And you can see the line does a very good job predicting the data points. Okay? All right. So to finish up, we need to make sure we have a title. So under chart title, we're going to type the title. The titles of our graphs are always going to look the same. We're going to say the relationship between, and then we're going to put whatever quantity is on our y-axis. So that is, in this case, the relationship between the length of a shadow, and now we put what's on our x-axis, the height of a stick. And then we put for, we need a context, so this was for objects in the sun. And your toolbox has the template for how to write the title. Okay, so that's the title, and it showed up there. Down here, under title text color, I'm going to go and choose black, so it's nice and black. Okay, now back here under chart and axes titles, you can go to the subtitle. The subtitle is where we're going to put our conclusion. So my conclusion is, since I found a straight line that goes through 0, my conclusion is that y is directly proportional to x. So I will say the shadow length, that's y, is directly proportional to the x, which is the height of the stick. Okay? So there we go. That is our conclusion. Again, I'm going to choose the color and make it black so that it's visible. And now we have a finished graph. Okay? So I can change the size of it a little bit. I'm going to move it over so you can see my data table. So in the lab, we asked a question: how does the length of the shadow depend on the height of the stick? The answer to that lab question is right here. It's the conclusion. The shadow length is directly proportional to the height of the stick. That's what we found by graphing our data and finding a math model. Now, if you didn't have these titles here in these two cells when you started this process, you probably didn't get the correct labels on your X and Y axis, and you've got to make sure those are correct. So if I click on my graph, I go to Edit Chart, I go back to Customize. Where I had the chart and axes titles, my subtitle and my title, I could also edit the horizontal title if I want. It says height of stick in inches, so that's correct down here. But if it wasn't, that's where I would change it. Okay? Now, we're all done. So what you're going to do is you're going to go on. There are a couple more tabs down here where you're going to make some more graphs to practice this entire process. Okay? So you're going to go down to here to tab B and look at the wires and find the math model for this set of data. And you're going to go to tab C and figure out the cost of an Uber ride based on the distance you travel. Okay? So that's your next job.